Hello YouTube community, this is Ron Doyle of Delmarva Peninsula. I got this CTX-160 machine from Hunter Allen of Annapolis Junction, Maryland, and I wanted to give you all a 50-hour update. Got a little bit over 50 hours on it. I want to give you the unbiased opinion. I love the machine. It does have some small problems Vermeer's aware of now, and they're going to see if they can work them out. So the first problem that I ran into with this machine was travel speed. I noticed when I was searching between the Ditch Witch 1550 and the I was looking at the new Kubota 1000 model, travel speeds, I was real concerned with being able to back drag at the same speed that I was going forward. And when I looked at their reviews online and their literature, this machine was right around 4.4 mile an hour. Well, when I got the machine, I noticed there was a difference in reverse. And what I'd done was got my phone out, and I know phones are only on GPS, they're only rated at single mile an hour digits. There's no tenths of a mile an hour. So I put an address in and I started traveling to that address, and on a GPS on this machine going forward, it only showed 4 mile an hour. Taking it and punching that address, turning this machine around and going in reverse, it was 3 miles an hour. I was a little concerned about that, not seeing it in the literature. There was a speed difference between the two of them, and a Vermeer dealer came out and explained to me that it can't be adjusted. It's set at factory. If they do adjust it, that it would void the warranty and possibly burn up the pump. So I realize that that's a no-go. I'm just gonna have to deal with the slow travel reversing speed. But the other thing that they came out for on the second trip was a presence, the operator presence switch, which is down here, and the wire for it goes into the frame, which is right here. It needed to be adjusted. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes I could get off and I could still operate both controls until it kicked in. Well, he came over, did an adjustment, found a hydraulic leak right under here, and that's directly underneath of, it looks like the supply line coming from the hydraulic filter was leaking. He tightened that up. He didn't clean it. I've got to clean it and make sure that it's not leaking. I haven't had any hours on it, and since he tightened it up, but I'm curious to see if that's been taken care of. The other thing that I noticed with this machine, you can see a little bit of the grass buildup. I wanted to leave it to show you. I was doing a demo job, and it is from that telephone pole right there, if you can see it, to a tax ditch, which is approximately 200 feet of barbed wire. And what I wanted to do was tear that out with this grapple. I've got a Bobcat MT50 grapple with a Palatine adapter plate, so it fits a Toro style mounting plate. Put it on this machine, works great. And I took out this fence line. A lot of it was strawy type grass. Grass hadn't gotten green yet. And this was about a month ago. May, sometime in May is when I did it. And what I did was I took all the debris traveling across this ground all the way to the back. You can see a pile of brush right there. That's the brush that came from this fence line, and then the barbed wire and all the fence wire I put in this, and I burned it so that I could separate it all and clean it up. And then I took all the dirt, slicked it all out. But in the first 2 hours of doing this job, going from the front of the property to the back, this radiator was filling up about half full, and what this machine was doing was getting overheated, and she was going in a limp home mode. Hydraulic temperature was reading right around 221 degrees, and it slowed down by about a mile an hour. So instead of going 4 mile an hour forward, I was going 3 mile an hour forward. So you obviously knew something was wrong. This is the instrument cluster that I had on, which is displaying hydraulic temperature and engine coolant. Engine coolant was right around I think it was 205, 206. The other thing, so basically I had to come back to the house and I had to take a water hose and blow all this out. So they recommend water or air, and a volume of air to blow that out would have been quite a bit. You need a big compressor. I don't have a big compressor, so I blew it out with water, and that was in a 2.5 hour period of doing this cleanup job. 2 hours later, it did it again. I blew it out again, and another 2 hours later, trucking from the front of the property to the back to get rid of the debris. In a period of 1 day, I had to blow this radiator out 3 times. Well, that makes a problem if you're on a job, new construction especially, and you don't have water or air to blow the radiator out. Well, one of my main concerns and considerations of buying this machine was I want to be able to put a brush hog, a 48-inch brush hog on the front of it. Question is, and I asked Hunter, I said, will this machine mow brush without plugging the radiator up? And I also had that discussion with Ditch Witch, Robbie Reister of Ditch Witch of Seaford, Delaware, and I asked them because that was one of my requirements, and one thing that I was looking at doing was basically maintaining this property. I want to be able to bush hog all of this ditch bank and all of this lane, and it's quite a bit. It goes all the way over to there with this machine, and that's, you know, one thing that I considered buying a Vermeer for. Well, Hunter hadn't really had an issue like this to come up, and he said he's got tree guys that have got the brush hogs and they haven't had an issue. Well, I'm going to do a video of the brush hog on this machine at a later date. Robbie Reister from Ditch Witch is going to lend me a 48-inch brush hog for this machine. It's Erskine. Fits on the front, and its flow rate is a 15 gallon a minute brush hog, but he said it will work on this machine. He's going to lend it to me, and I'm going to put it through its paces and see how much debris is sucked up into this radiator, causing an issue. I'm going to make sure it's clean right from the get-go, but I'm going to time it, and I'm going to monitor how long I can cut brush before this sucker fills up. Wasn't too happy with that. So that was one of the issues. The other issue that I had, and kind of noticed it from day one when they showed up with the machine, is where these control arms, this part right here, lands on the frame. And if you look at that, she's rolling this edge over on this front plate, and she's smashing that edge. Almost like she's not really centered as she comes down. On this other side, it's much better. On this side, she doesn't hit that plate at all. It looks like it hit it there once, but she's riding a lot better to center than the other side. So I've greased this machine up about 4 times because she's got 56.5 hours on her now. And what I noticed was that this control arm, this hydraulic cylinder going in here, if you see that right there, she's rubbing. Kind of got me concerned. That's the only spot that this machine's rubbing. Let's see if I can show you a better view. I'm not sure if you can see it, but she's pretty tight tolerance on that side. There's not a whole lot of gap. And repair tech, he came by, and I pointed this out to him, this problem, and he raised the machine from this pull point, had the arm up about up to here, hooked his service truck crane on it, pulled that up. He pulled this pin out, and wanted to see if there's any damage in the pin. And he also wanted to make sure that these welded in bosses were centered, and to see if there's any bushings that could be adjusted on the back side. There's no bushings behind this. It's just these bosses are welded in. He thinks that they weren't centered on the machine when they tacked them up. They welded it, put these on, and I'm not sure how the process, if they make a bunch of these arms and they just slap them on the machines, or if this arm is made to this machine. He couldn't really answer that, but he thinks something's out of alignment on this. So I'm kind of curious to the repair process and what's going to happen with them addressing this rubbing issue right here. That's the biggest complaint, or the biggest concern, I should say, that I've got so far. I do notice that cleaning the tracks out on this machine is a bear. There's a lot of nooks, a lot of crannies, and I'm going to give you a little shot of what is going on here. There's a lot of nooks and crannies, especially behind here, back in here, and back in here to get to. You almost need to have a pressure washer readily available. After you get a job done, first thing you do when you come home or back to your shop is blow this sucker off. A lot of nooks and crannies, and I've been using a low pressure water hose, and I'll run my hand back there and keeping the water on, and I'll make sure that it's free of mud. But oh man, this is the machine, CTX-160, and I like the machine, don't get me wrong. Some things that I've done to it, first thing that I did, put lights on it. Can't have a decent machine without lights. Got a light bar up here from Harbor Freight. I've got side marker lights from Harbor Freight. I've got traveler's lights. These are from Tractor Supply. Got one on either side. These 4 lights, these 2 and those 2, are wired on this switch up here. And that is a lit switch. It tells you when it's on. And then the light bar is mounted on the front switch. And got those traveler lights right here from Tractor Supply on clearance. And there's the model number. But what I had found out, reason why these were so cheap, is the polarity on this is on the color of the wiring is reversed. So if you buy Harbor Freight lights, Tractor Supply lights, and mix and mingle them, these aren't going to work with this wiring harness unless you reverse the polarity. But I've got the Road Shock LED light bar kit. I got 2 of these. I bought 2 of these, 1 kit, because it contains 2, and 1 light bar, all on this machine. If you all want to see a video of how that's wired and a light output demonstration at night, leave a comment at the bottom. I'll be happy to do that for you. I don't want to go too much in detail on these lights, but I've got them tucked in pretty tight to where they're not going to get hit. And I had to play around with this a bit, raising the arm, lowering the arm, to get these hoses in a clearance to where they'll slide in between this light and they barely touch it, but they don't knock the adjustment out. And I had to keep my fill open to put some fuel in it. The other thing that I added was temporary ballast steps. These are heavy-duty fold-away truck steps, Buyers product. They're pretty stout and they're pretty tight, so I shouldn't have any problem with them falling. They're drilled and tapped into the sheet metal frame, which is it's 1/4 inch thick, so I shouldn't have any problem with deflection. But these are for temporary ballast. the Vermeer repair guy, he thought that was kind of comical that I had done that, and they fold out of the way. The other thing I wanted to add to this is a fire extinguisher. Been around a lot of equipment, seen a lot of fires, you know, accidents, using a chainsaw in the woods and you create a spark. Got a little backup here. Yeah, it does stick up a bit. Want to eventually make some kind of removable hand bar, grab bar, that will go over top of the height of this and protect it from getting struck. Vibration. This machine's got a 40 horsepower diesel. She shimmies and shakes quite a bit. So I put a gasket, old piece of truck bed mat right there to keep it from rubbing a hole in the tops of the tanks. These tanks are fairly thin. You can deflect them with your finger, and I didn't want that to rub through. Out here in the country, we've got a problem with wasp and mud daubers building nests, and I wanted a way that I could grab this handle and lift this up without getting stung and making a good day real bad real quick. The other thing that I have to address, haven't done yet, is to extend the latch mechanism, possibly with a piece of short chain, where I don't have to reach my hand underneath it here. I've been lit up too many times by wasp, but basically this handle's fairly simple. And I took off Vermeer's foam gasket they had riding across here. Like I said, due to the vibration, this thing was wearing paint. She's wearing 4 holes in this lid, and I don't know if you can see that, but she's actually riding on this rubber now that I installed to keep the vibration down. Now, during that process of it overheating, these strips that they adhere to the sides of these removable panels were heated so much that day. These gaskets that are down both sides, there's one on this side and one on this side, they were sliding down. I took a picture of that and sent it to Hunter Allen and told him that Vermeer has got to do something about this. Heads up, Vermeer, pay attention. You need to put sheet metal rubber gasket, reinforcement gasket on this. That'll keep this from vibrating. Now, you all don't do it here, but what I noticed was you do it here, because I didn't put this piece on. You did that, Vermeer. And this product is awesome. This product needs to be installed on this hood like I did to keep the vibration down there and there. So that drastically cut down the vibration, the shimmy, the shake, and all the rattling that this machine has. And it did tighten it up quite a bit. Basically what this is 2 bolts braced together with a piece of rubber gasket, rubber fuel hose slid over top of it, stainless nuts, stainless washer, rubber seals, T-nuts, non-fanged T-nuts underneath, snugged up, and then you tighten this down to the hood. Works out great. I just got to extend that latch. The implements that I got with this machine are the pallet forks with 48-inch tines and a 54-inch Laughlin bucket. I'm sorry, Palatine bucket, 54-inch Palatine bucket with a bolt-on bar, and a Laughlin, which I've worn the name off, 48-inch with a bolt-on tooth bar. I love these 2 buckets. This is a high-volume bucket. The quality of this bucket is awesome. I put pull eyes, pull hooks and looped eyes on this. I've probably voided the warranty, but I think every bucket needs this to pull chains, pull logs, move stuff around. I also did the same thing on this one. And what I had noticed on this Laughlin bucket was grinding the tops of this so that I could wrap this weld around, was that this weld had porosity. I ground this one down, this weld had porosity across the whole entire weld. I ground this one down, that had porosity, and went underneath and I ground this one, and that one. And everywhere I looked, this had porosity in it. So I ground it out, burned it in, I passed in with 6011, and then top welded it with 7018. And then I also put a reinforcement bar, because this one didn't have it underneath of here. There's a piece of flat bar welded in to give the top rigidity, so when I'm pulling off of this and this, that I don't bow this bucket in. This Paladin bucket already had a reinforcement. I'll show you. It had a reinforcement to start with. I don't know if you can see that. And reinforcement vertical ribs, which are formed angle iron. That's what come with the machine. This is my used Bobcat MT50 grapple bucket that I bought off of Marketplace through Facebook. It wasn't altered. It was a damaged bucket. Come find out, these tines weren't closing all the way. There was a 4-inch gap from the blade and the bottom of the tine. I found out this was bowed across here, this pipe. Heated it up with a rosebud, straightened it out, and you're probably going to ask, why did you spend that much time on this? Because I wanted to alter it. This bucket, 36-inch tine bucket assembly from Bobcat brand new is $1,950, no tax. And I knew buying it brand new and altering it, it's going to void all warranty. I wanted to buy a used one, got lucky and found it, corrected that issue, cut a hole in the front with a torch, put a piece of flat bar on the back, put an extension tube, basically to put a coupler assembly on the front. Welded, hooks, loops, put loops off the sides. Now to fit the Toro Dingo style mounting plate, I had to buy the Paladin Bradco adapter plate. These are fairly hard to find. Very expensive, very hard to find, but out of the two that I did find, this was the better one. This unit right here, just this adapter plate, was $715. Spring loaded, greasable Zerks on the bushings. This was bought through Ditch Witch of Seaford, Delaware. This Paladin adapter will enable you to use any Bobcat MT50 attachment. The reason I got this is basically I could go to any Bobcat dealer and rent any Bobcat attachment and it will fit my machine. So whether I had bought this or not, I was going to own this so that I could rent equipment that wasn't available from a Toro Dingo style dealer. Bought this used, this is a Toro Dingo trencher head. I had to do 7 by 36 inch. Bought it as parts and pieces. Had a broken coupler on it. I'm sorry, broken hydraulic fitting, not the coupler. And all the paddles were worn out. Bolts were replaced. All the missing parts out of the front, the bearing and the head block pulley were replaced. I've got more in parts than I paid for this unit, but I haven't had a chance to use it yet. Looking forward to that. Got a pretty good deal on that. And the other attachment that I bought for my Vermeer CTX-160, and I know you're probably going to say this doesn't fit. This is a Toro Dingo Site Work Systems backhoe attachment. It's a fairly small bucket. Haven't put it to use yet. It does have the Toro Dingo style mounting plate on the bottom, and I've got to make a special pin for my machine so that I can secure the top end, because this is so top heavy. You can't use this attachment without doing some kind of upper support, or you're going to end up busting something. And I've got to do some hydraulic hose adjustment, because my hydraulic hoses from here to this machine are very tight, and they will hit if you're not paying attention. So I do need to make some kind of pin to go in here to correct that. But look, this video is getting long. Just wanted to give you all an update on what's going on with this. One thing I forgot to show you all, Tough Built tool pouches. Make a tape measure pouch. That's my rag keeper. This thing's got grease fittings. It's got grease all over the place. You can obviously see you always need a rag, and doing site work, you always need a tape measure on you. So pot riveted this in there, got enough clearance if she misses that arm. But look, this video is getting long. Hopefully you all enjoyed. If you like it, give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions about this machine. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Thank you, and you all have a blessed day.